Hiya, Amy here. Today I have a clean and simple thank you card to share using up some of my colored cardstock. So let's jump right in. Now here I'm showing you some scraps of various different colors of cardstock. These are lightweight and inexpensive. I don't even know the brand. They were literally in my scrap drawer waiting to be turned into a card. And here's a die that I'm going to use for the design that I recently got from Simon Says Stamp. It says cheers. And here's a couple photos of the card that I'm going to make today. You can see very clean and simple in design, but it does give me a chance to use up some of my colored cardstock, which I often don't know what to do with. So I cut it down into smaller, more manageable size pieces, and I have this low tack tape here. And I'm just going to tape this cheers die down to each of these strips and run it off screen through my die cutting machine. Now you may have noticed on the die there is an exclamation point, but I opted not to use that because I wanted the piece that was all connected. Now here is the 3D embossing folder from Altenew. It's called Modern Squares 3D, and I have an 80-pound cardstock here of Neenah Classic Crest. I'm just spritzing it with some water and then loading it up in my embossing folder. I was debating trying to do just part of the panel, but then that just got too complicated, so I just ran the whole thing through. But use whatever sandwich works for your machine. I have a Spellbinders Platinum 6, so I ran that through and got this awesome dimension on this plain white cardstock, so that'll give it a subtle but still interesting background. And I did cut it down slightly smaller than A2 size, and I'm just going to attach it with my tape runner here to a card base. Now that is a 110-pound Neenah Classic Crest Solar White for the card base. So there's a nice little white border around it, but get that attached down and ready to go. And then ultimately I'm just going to take these various different die cuts and lay them out in the order that I want. You can be very concise here and use a ruler. I really was just eyeballing it. The font itself is a little bit whimsical and not perfectly straight, so that kind of helped me out a little bit with any slight imperfections. But you absolutely can use a T-square ruler or something like that to help you through this process. But basically I started with the top one and then went to the bottom one so that I could determine the spacing from the top and the bottom of the card, and then I did the one in the middle, and then the ones in the middle on the top and bottom as well. So I hope that makes sense. You'll see what I do here in a moment as I speed it up, but that was just a way to kind of better eyeball it and make sure that there was relatively even spacing in between the little die cuts. So you can see here I'm using some liquid glue. This is Barely Art liquid glue, and I'm just kind of pouncing off the excess onto that little piece of scratch paper, and I'm using my little tweezers here to kind of help me get them down. But they are, as you can see, a little delicate. They do kind of move around a little bit. Like I said, it's a bit of a whimsy font, so I'm just doing my best here. It's not perfect, but I do like the end result, and it was straight enough for me in my opinion. So here you can see I'm just going to grab, once I adjust it here, I realized it wasn't quite straight enough. But I'm just going to go through this process quickly and glue down all these other pieces. Like I said, starting with that blue one in the middle and then just kind of putting that down. So I have a ton of colored cardstock like this, and I don't tend to use it all that often. Every once in a while, maybe I'll think to use it in like an embossing folder and then do some ink blending on it or something, but ultimately I have a good chunk of it and I don't really use it very much. Same thing with my pattern paper. So if there's opportunities to use up my scraps and kind of come up with a card, then I'm all for it here. And here I have a simple strip that I'm putting on the inside of the card just to kind of continue on. It says thankful for your friendship. And then I have these little, they look almost like water droplets, but various different sizes. And I'm going to put those down again with the liquid glue in odd numbers. So 3 on the top left and 2 on the lower right. And I'm going to use my jewel picker and put those down. And then that gives it kind of a cool embellishment to add to the card. So I will link all the products that I used in the video description box below. If you expand that description area and scroll down, then you'll find the links and additional details. But that's basically my design. That's going to finish it up. It's not anything too groundbreaking here. Just put away my little pieces parts, and that's my finished card. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. And I appreciate you watching. I'll check you next time. Bye.